Hello YouTube, it's Mr. Fernandez. Doing a quick little video to give you guys an update on what I'm doing. And to let you guys know that I have not given up entirely on writing. So I have told many stories about European type style medieval civilizations in my world. And so I decided to tell a story about the two pharaohs. I've mentioned them before. They are in my lore. They are in my history. So they're just there as a footnote. But as of late, I have decided to jot down some sort of history. So the public may never see this, but I'll have it on hand in case I need to reference it, and most likely I will. So I interjected this story into my timeline, and so we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about something else very important later on. So my timeline goes 4,000 years before the centralizing event, and then it goes another 4,000 years to the future. So at the current point in my books, I'm telling my story around 3850 of this timeline after the centralizing point. So the story about the two pharaohs, it lasts from towards the end, just before, like 1,000 years before the centralizing point, to about 3,000 years after. So it's a very long, deeply rooted dynasty that lasts a long time. And throughout this time, they have conflicts with the elves, which are their western neighbors. And they are mostly a desert, and there's a reason why they're a desert. So back when Dorlax was alive, around the second time, if you guys have any questions about Dorlax, I have a video about him in my playlist. If I find that video, I'll link it below. But Dorlax, being that he was a humanoid, he couldn't really control all of the magic that he had learned from the dragon in the dragon book. So he sculpted out 3 orbs, and these orbs, he endued them with his power, but he kept some for himself. So whenever he wanted to do something drastic, he would refer to those orbs. And there were 3 nomads that found his tomb, and they took these orbs, and just being around these orbs changed their DNA, making them more intelligent. So they went off and they started their own kingdoms. And one of the kingdoms that was created later becomes the land of the pharaohs. And the reason it is considered a desert wasteland is because when Dorlax woke up the second time, he went to, sorry, I misspoke. The first time he created, the first 1,000 years he created them. Then when he went to sleep, the second time he woke up, that's when he went looking for them. So when he approached these people that had them, because he could feel where they're at, they denied that they had him, and he was very gentleman about it, and he asked them, "Can I please have my orb back, and you will live?" And that kingdom at the time refused. So he punished this kingdom to be swallowed by the sands, and 90% of their kingdom fell to the desert. Another one fell to the snow, and a third one fell to the forest. The forest overgrew the town, and Dorlax caused this to happen. So the land of the Pharaohs was created. And the way I started off this little backstory is I talk about Morgnad, and he's a orc that unites 19 of the orc clans, including 3 or 4 of the orcmen, to wage a war against the Pharaoh. And he succeeds because he outnumbers them greatly. But eventually the Pharaoh overcomes them because he has better equipment and more supplies. He has allies. He's allied with the kingdom of Mordis, which is in the northwest corner of his kingdom. But the stipulation with the kingdom of Mordis sending troops to help him was that they would accept the Church of Corel and deny their old gods. So the Pharaoh, being in a dire straits, decided, hey, I'm going to have to do this. And so when he accepts the help, he beats back the Orcs and he wins the war. But this was a 15-year war that lasted that long, and it ravaged most of the kingdom. So there was a lot of rebuilding that needed to be done. So in this treaty, the Orcs requested that some of their tribes be allowed to live within the borders. And the Pharaoh agreed that they would be lowly and not of any status, but they would be citizens of the kingdom. But eventually they started becoming prosperous, and over generations they assimilated into the Pharaoh culture there, and the kingdom's name is Alakesh, and so they became citizens of Alakesh, and eventually it came down to there was 2 sons that were heirs to the throne, and one fully accepted the Sector Corel and one refused, and this caused a civil war, which again broke the kingdom in 2. One was supported by the kingdom of Mordis, Alvaliva, and Estola, and the son that refused to assimilate to that was supported by the Slaters, because the Slaters didn't like the kingdom of Alakesh anyways. So I don't want to go too deep into that because it's a quite lengthy story they're written out. Yeah, I have not given up on writing. My mind is always going. I have constant stories. If you've seen the picture of the world that I've created, there is a ice barrier around the equator. North of the equator, I have not talked about. So it's a whole another world. If you ever want to get an idea of how big Mini Barda is, look up the Kepler planets. These are actual planets that are out in our solar system. We will never be able to reach them, but they are in the Goldilocks zone, and they're ginormous. They're way bigger than Earth. So we're gonna just think, if you want just to get an idea, it's size about 2 times bigger than Jupiter or Saturn. So this world is massive, and the north of the equator, I will probably get to telling stories about that place after I finish my series with the Kingdom of Aelin. And I also have the Kingdom of Marcia, which is a Oriental type kingdom, and then I have the Kingdoms of Eleanor. There's 15 kingdoms there that I have history on. So yeah, that's that. So I just want to tell you an idea what I'm working on. I'm still working on the sequel to Legend of Aelin, and I'm also working on the companion to Ivar Blood and Steel. Speaking about Ivar Blood and Steel, this contraction that I have here, I'll show you a second, is another bookend that I'm working on. It will eventually become the Tower of the Witch, which is in the end of the book. So on here, I'm gonna put some dirt and a rundown wall that goes around. I'll put a gate here in front, and I'll put some resin, maybe some little plants. The scale of this is a little different, so I'll have to change. I even marked out all the bricks. I gotta put windows, and I gotta put a parapet on top. Parapet? Oh, the crown on top. So I have yet some work to do on it, but the book still fits in there. Yeah. Still some work to do on it, but yeah, I will get it done. Anyway, hopefully the music I have playing here doesn't get too annoying. Thank you for watching, guys. It's late. Time for me to go to bed. If you guys like this video, please like, subscribe, comment below, and as always, stay being creative.